everyone, my name is Mia Young and I'm the lifestyle coordinator here at the Overtree in Frisco. And today we are going to be talking about indoor planting. So I'm going to be showing you how to go ahead and indoor plant, some do's and don'ts, classic myths and cliches whenever it comes to planting, and how to take care of it moving forward. So some things in this video that you would need are a small flower pot. I'm starting small just because it's a lot easier to start the planting, and then depending on what flower you are planting, later on whenever it starts to get a little too big for this pot, then you can move it to a bigger pot. That way the flower doesn't get suffocated and damaged. And I am putting my flower pot on top of one of these clear disposable plastic plates just because when you water it, it has holes in the bottom of the pot for drainage, just in case you put a little bit too much water. That way you can pour the water out of here and it doesn't get as messy. So I put this underneath the flower pot. Another thing that you would need is going to be Miracle Grow all-purpose plant food. I found this on Amazon, very, very cheap. And then in this comes a measurement spoon, and you would need to put about half of a teaspoon, which is the small side for indoor planting. And it tells you on the box as well, there's a difference between the indoor and outdoor. Obviously outdoor, you would have to use a little bit more of the plant food. But you would portion out about half a teaspoon of the plant food and mix it into a gallon of water. And you can use that water every 2 weeks to go ahead and water your plant and also expose it to the plant food so that it can grow stronger. So that is one of the ingredients. Obviously, you would need a seed packet. As I said before, because I know a sunflower is a little excessive for this small pot, but I am gonna move it to a bigger pot once it starts to grow and get a little bit bigger. So I'm starting with the sunflowers. And the good thing about the sunflower seed packet is, well, any seed packet, but in this particular one, a sunflower, it gives you some tips on the back. So it tells you a little bit about your plant. That way you know how to take care of it moving forward. So it's very, very helpful. So it tells you things like how far apart you should plant the seeds in order to have a successful growth of the flowers. For sunflowers, because they grow so big, you're supposed to plant the big seeds about 6 inches apart in the soil that are deeply dug. A lot of times, depending on how deep the flower is going to grow, they say that you're supposed to plant the seeds about 1/4 of an inch under the soil. Sometimes you can go a little bit deeper depending on how big your pot is, but that's what I'm starting with today. So there's that, your seed packet. And then, of course, some potting mix. This is an indoor potting mix by Miracle Grow that I also use to put in the pot. And we can go ahead and get started. So the first thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and put some soil into the pot. And I have a little 9-ounce cup that I'm using to put in here. It kind of gives perfect portion sizes for these little flower pots. And once I pour some of the soil in there, I pat it down some so that I can get rid of the air bubbles that are in there and see how much soil is really there. Normally, I would only use about halfway through the pot for the soil, but because I'm planting a sunflower, I'm gonna put a little bit more since I might have to dig a little deeper in order to plant the actual seed. So I'm gonna fill it up to, let's see, yep. So I'm going to fill it up about 3/4 of the way full. Here we go. And then you want to take your seed packet. Let's see. So this packet says that I'm supposed to be planting between 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch deep, depending on whether or not you're planting indoor or outdoor. Since I'm doing indoor, I can plant a seed about 1/4 of an inch deep. Okay, and so I'm gonna use my finger and go ahead and dig about 1/4 of an inch, and then I'm just grabbing one seed because it's a big flower and planting it. Now you can go ahead and cover up the seed. Okay, and then I've already gone ahead and portioned out my plant food and my water just because I'm just using a little bit, obviously, for this pot. So I went ahead and pre-mixed those items. And now you just go ahead and water your plant. You don't want to put too much, but you do want to make sure that the soil is damp. And you just kind of wait for the water to run through it, and you'll kind of watch it get a little tighter. Okay. And then again, if you do end up pouring a little bit too much water, that's perfectly fine, because the pot does have the holes at the bottom that will drain the water. So that you're not drowning the plant. Okay, and I'm just patting to kind of ensure the water goes all the way through the pot. It really should not be too dry, but it also obviously doesn't need to be overflowing either. But you just want to make sure that the water goes all the way through the pot. That way, you know, you have healthy soil throughout the whole pot in order for the plant to grow. Okay. So now that that's done, we watch it grow. So one of the things that I also wanted to talk about as far as a pointer goes is, depending on your plant, some plants do thrive better in more sunlight and some thrive better in less sunlight. So it's really specific to the plant that you are planting, where you should put it in your house, how often you should maybe move it away from the sunlight, and also how often you should water your flower or your plant. So those things can be found on the back of your seed packet. Other than that, it's fairly simple. It's a fun thing to do, especially with quarantine. It gives you something to do, something to take care of afterwards as well. And it's fun to watch it grow. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact us and ask us, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you so much for watching.